Have you been dreaming about life on the lake? Or maybe you're thinking about moving to Kansas City and don't know if there are any lakes in the area. Well, I'm happy to help you as a certified lake girl and local Kansas City. And I'm a real estate agent too. Hey, I'm Rachel the Realtor, a local real estate agent licensed in Kansas and Missouri, and a lake girly. I love a lake day. And fun fact, if you're not from Kansas City, you're not familiar with the area, this is actually kind of a big part of our culture. We have a ton of lakes in Kansas City and a variety of levels. We have lakes that you can go visit and hang out at for the day. We have lakes that you can take a weekend trip to where a lot of people have a second home. And then we have lakes around the metro that are actually residential lakes where people own homes right up on the water, but then live and do their day-to-day life right here in the metro. So today we're gonna break down all three categories. Let's splash in. The first category is local lakes to enjoy. So a lot of people think Kansas City just doesn't have any nature. And while we're no Denver or Boise or, name your major city that has a mountain range nearby it, we do have our fair share of trails, parks, and yes, lakes. There are several lakes around the metro that you can go to where you can rent kayaks, you can rent a boat, you can rent a jet ski, you can launch your own kayak, launch your own boat, or just stand on the bank, enjoy the view, and maybe go fishing. A few of my personal favorites are Blue Springs Lake, Longview Lake, and Lake Jacomo. Those three are all really kind of in the same area around Blue Springs and Lee Summit on the Missouri side, kind of southeast of the city. Those are all really quiet lakes. They're pretty small, but great for just an afternoon of boating, just looking at a pretty view, or getting out on the stand-up paddleboard or kayak. So that was Blue Springs Lake, Longview Lake, Lake Jacomo, all kind of in the same area there. Another lake that is much bigger and very popular is Smithville Lake. This one has over 7,000 acres of water and land, lots of hiking trails, golf courses, marinas. This one's perfect for a little bit of a longer day trip. You want to spend a whole day out on the water. This one might be a little bit more your speed. It is beautiful, and it is north of Kansas City and really in a peaceful, quiet area. So really, really nice lake to enjoy. For people that are located more on the Kansas side, they'll spend their days going to Clinton Lake out in the Lawrence area. This one's more similar to Smithville Lake in the size, the scope, and the setting is more rural, really peaceful, and a great place to enjoy a day out on the boat. So that's just a sampling of the many lakes in the Kansas City area, but I'm here just to dispel the myth that we don't have any outdoor activities in KC, because we do, and you can hop out on the water just with like a 20-minute drive, really depending on where you are on the metro, any day of the week. Another huge part of Kansas City culture is going to the lake. And when people say, I'm going to the lake, they usually mean like, I'm going to spend a weekend at a lake that is somewhere between 1 and 3 hours away. And the reason is we have a lot of larger lakes throughout the state of Missouri where people own cabins, mobile homes, second homes, condos, mansions for the other half, depending on where you are. So the three lakes that are really popular and you'll see a lot of people going to are Lake of the Ozarks, Truman Lake, and Table Rock Lake. Each one has kind of its own vibe, its own character, and its own price range of homes. Truman Lake is the closest of the three. It's a little more for like the hunters and fisher types, like smaller cabins, smaller setups, really peaceful, quiet experience to go out and enjoy that lake for the weekend. A lot of people that like to fish go there. They have a lot of like trees under the water, I guess. I know a lot about a lot of things, but fishing is not one of them. So ask someone else about that. But I guess it's a good spot for it. The next closest lake to Kansas City where a lot of people go is Lake of the Ozarks. So if you've seen the Netflix show Ozark, yes, it's set at Lake of the Ozarks. However, it is not the real experience at Lake of the Ozarks. Lake of the Ozarks, especially the end that's closer to Kansas City, is like, it's a city on water. I mean, it is crazy. You will see ocean liners driving up and down this lake. There's a lot of money at Lake of the Ozarks and a lot of normal middle class families that go and just gawk at all the money going up and down the water as well. You can buy a condo there for like $200,000 for a small condo. And then there's houses there that are well into the millions. So it's a really wide range of property prices and kinds of property. Most people go to Lake of the Ozark, the side that's closer to Kansas City, to boat, to go to the restaurants by water, to, cove out, drop an anchor, enjoy the sun, ride a jet ski, those kinds of things. And then the further down the lake you get, It's measured by mile marker, and it's kind of like, it looks like a snake or a dragon. The further down you get, the more peaceful it gets. The more people go for fishing and more of a relaxing atmosphere. The water's not quite as choppy. You can actually get out on a fishing boat. And so that's kind of the experience at Lake of the Ozarks. The third major lake that people go to the lake for the weekend or have a second home is Table Rock Lake. This is down around the Branson area. It's beautiful, super peaceful, super serene. And this is a lake a lot of people go to when they're going to Branson and then go spend a day at the lake. You know, they kind of work it into their weekend to do other things. This lake is not one that has like bars and restaurants right on the water like Lake of the Ozarks. So it's less of a party scene, more of a family-friendly atmosphere. And a lot of people really love going to Table Rock Lake. However, if a day on the lake, a weekend at the lake, if none of that is enough for you and you need to live on a lake, good news. There's plenty of options for that in Kansas City as well. Several lakeside communities. I'm just going to name off some of the bigger ones, some of the most prominent ones in the KC Metro. And if you're interested in learning more, I would love to help you. I love looking at lake properties. Hit me up. We'll go check out some of these lakes and find a perfect home for you. And I'm extra motivated because I will want to be invited to come hang out at your lake house next time you have a party, okay? So here's some of the lakeside living locations around Kansas City. The first one I'm going to name is Wrist Lake. This has a population of about 37,000 people. This is the largest of all of these lakes I'm going to name off for sure. It is in Park Hill School District, and the average sale price is about $634,000. Wrist Lake is not just the houses directly on the lake. It encompasses a really large community, which is true of quite a few of these that I'm going to name off. So a lot of the houses in Wrist Lake don't actually have a lake view of Wrist Lake, but they do have access and can use the amenities and the docks and the launching, the ramps, all those good things. Staying up north, we're moving over to Weatherby Lake, which is a totally different vibe. This one is a lot smaller. It has about 2,100 residents there, and it's also in Park Hill School District, though. Sale price is a little bit lower at Weatherby Lake, about $607,000. Weatherby Lake is much more like lake specific. Like if you live at Weatherby Lake, you may not be right on the water, but you probably are just a couple tiers up, kind of all oriented around the water. Whereas Wrist Lake has all these neighborhoods kind of around it. Weatherby Lake is really about the lake more. So moving down a little bit further south into the Lee Summit Blue Springs area, we have Lake Tapawingo, which is in Blue Springs School District. It is the smallest on this list at 773 residents. It's been around forever. It also has one of the most accessible sale prices on here at $435,000. These lake homes are a little bit smaller and older generally, and it's a really small, tight-knit community, but it's like plunked right down in the middle of Blue Springs. So that is Lake Tapawingo. Really close to Lake Tapawingo is Lakewood. Lakewood is a community of about 19,000 people. It feels like its own like small town, basically. Really, it's like kind of on the cusp of Independence, Blue Springs, and Lee Summit. It kind of sits right in between all of those places. Some of Lakewood goes into Blue Springs School District. Some of it goes into Lee Summit School District. The average sale price in Lakewood is about $434,000 over the last year, but this varies really widely. You can get homes in Lakewood for, let's say the lowest price point is probably $300,000, $350,000, and then you can get homes over $2 million in Lakewood as well, just depending on if they're waterfront, how big they are, all of that good stuff. Lakewood has a ton of amenities. They have a lot of pools, a lot of parks. Their HOA fees are higher for sure, but people that live there love it because they're kind of active members of that community. Heading down a little bit further east and south out to Lake Lotawana. Lake Lotawana is its own municipality. It feeds into Lee Summit School District, and it has about 2,500 residents. The average sale price at Lake Lotawana is $633,000, which I was kind of surprised by that. It's a little lower than I thought, but I think it's just depending on what houses have gone up for sale over the last year when I looked at these numbers. It's a private lake. You cannot go on it unless you live there, and which is true of a lot of these lakes. And Lake Lotawana has its own kind of fine dining restaurant right on the water, which is unique. I don't think any of these other lakes have dining right on the water like Lake Lotawana does. And then the last lake that I will mention here is further south. It is Lake Winnebago. It feeds into Lee Summit School District, and Lake Winnebago is one of the hottest, like most rising neighborhoods in all of Kansas City. It used to be kind of a very approachable, like middle class lake. And now there are straight up gorgeous, gorgeous, huge houses being built there. So the average sale price over the last year, no joke, 1.2 million. But if you're not from Kansas City and you see a $1.2 million house at Lake Winnebago, your jaw will drop because they are stunning, huge houses that they're building out there. The population currently is just over 1,800, but sure to continue to grow. There's still a lot of land to be developed in and around Lake Winnebago. So those are the lakes you can live at in Kansas City. Would love to help you out if you're looking in any of those areas. As you can see, there's a really wide range of price points, of lifestyles, of sizes of homes, of kinds of lakes that you can choose to live at and still just be a stone's throw away from downtown Kansas City. I would love to help you with that. I'm Rach the Realtor. Until we dive into your lake house hunt, I'll be here on YouTube giving you the scoop on all things Kansas City. See you next time.